hell do they let the reporters in there for? Are they crazy up there? You just sank the Air Force budget. You're crazy up there. Are they crazy? That silly bastard with his picture next to the bed?
Sir, I'm appalled, but,
Well, I'm appalled, too.
all right, sir.
Then I want that fella's incompetent who had his picture taken next to Mrs. Kennedy's bed, if that's what it is. I mean, he's a silly bastard. I wouldn't have him running a cat house. Is that the way they're throwing money around over there?
Well, sir, this is, obviously,
Well, this is obviously a up.
As my favorite Irish aunt used to say, it got his Irish up, the now famous phone call from 50 years ago today. That is our broadcast on a Friday night and for this week. Thank you for being here with us. Lester Holt will be here with you this weekend. I'm Brian Williams. We, of course, hope to see you right back here on Monday night. Have a good weekend. Good night.
This is KSN News at 6.
Well, I wanted to pull through. I mean, it's hard when you have kids, you know.
An emotional response from a Wichita police officer who pulled a young child from a creek after the boy was swept away. Good evening, I'm Stephanie Bergman.
And I'm John Snyder. Thank you for joining us. That 3-year-old boy was walking with his grandfather along the creek when he fell in. Creek's in the 8300 block of East Gilbert. He was swept away. Minutes later, the officer pulled him to safety. KSN's Felix Rodriguez Lima joins us live now from East Wichita with how the officer did it. Felix?
The water in this creek off of East Gilbert is several feet deep, and as you can see, it's still moving at a very swift pace, making it a difficult rescue for Wichita police officer Daryl Sundquist to pull the boy out of the creek and give the boy a fighting chance at survival.
Well, I wanted to pull through. I mean, it's hard when you have kids, you know.
It all happened in an instant as a 3-year-old boy and his grandfather were walking along this creek near East Gilbert Street. Then the boy slipped down a hill and fell into the creek.
It's not a good feeling when you first see him completely underwater and then you pull him out and he's not responsive.
When Officer Daryl Sundquist arrived, he talked to the boy's grandfather, who he says was very shaken up. Sundquist then walked about 200 yards along the creek where he spotted the boy.
When I stepped down in there, it came up to my knees, so it was a good 2.5 to 3 foot deep. He was closer to the west side of the bank, and I was able to pull him up. Like I said, he was completely submerged under there. But with the current, he could have gone much further.
After pulling him out of the creek, Sundquist gave the boy CPR until medical personnel arrived on scene.
You just hope for him. He was working and fighting, and I was trying to call his name just to help him see if he could hear and work on his own.
Fellow officers credited Sundquist for his quick thinking and actions, but he says it's something any officer would have done to protect the boy's life.
It's going to be hard. He was very discolored, but when I saw that his skin color was coming back, I had a lot of positive thoughts.
The boy is in stable but in critical condition here at Eldo Wesley Medical Center, and that is the absolute latest here from East Wichita. I'm Felix Rodriguez Lima, KSN News.
All right, thank you, Felix. The lightning from that storm early this morning likely to blame for a fire that caused heavy damage to a McPherson County school. The fire was reported at the Canton Galva Middle School in Galva around 2:30 this morning. Crews were on the scene minutes later and had to call in another ladder truck from the McPherson Fire Department to assist. Damage was contained to the gymnasium. School officials don't expect it to interfere with classes that start in just about 4 weeks.
Let's find out if we have some more rain on the way.
Yeah, we're loving that rain. Dave Freeman's in the Pinpoint Weather Center. How much did we get, Dave?
There are some really impressive rain totals from the overnight hours, and we're going to go back 48 hours to get what happened both before and after midnight. And again, I think the numbers, you'll agree, are really something. In western Kansas, you can't beat Scott City, 2.84 inches of rain. Wow. In central Kansas, Ellsworth, 2.5. Hillsboro, just north of Wichita, 3.42 inches in the city itself. Exploration Place, 2.76 inches. So really a pretty amazing amount of rain. Now, in terms of tonight, we are keeping our eye out for the possibility of some more storms just affecting the very far northwest corner of our viewing area. A severe thunderstorm watch in effect for Dundee County, Nebraska, Cheyenne County, Kansas until 10 o'clock Mountain Time. At this point, there's no storms anywhere near us, but we do have the possibility. We'll keep an eye on it. And we'll be back with your weekend forecast.
All right, Dave, thank you. Kansas lawmakers will be heading back to work soon after Governor Sam Brownback called for a special session to fix the state's Hard 50 law. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that juries and not judges must have the final say on facts that trigger mandatory minimum sentences. Right now, a judge in Kansas can order a convicted killer spend at least 50 years behind bars before any possibility of parole. The Attorney General asked for the special session so the law can be fixed. It is scheduled for September 3rd.
One day after Spirit AeroSystems announced 360 layoffs, the company is now celebrating a big rollout. The first forward fuselage section of the new KC-46A tanker is being shipped. KSN's Craig Andrus has our continuing coverage.
It's a big rollout for Spirit. On-time delivery of this, the first forward fuselage for a new Air Force tanker. At the big rally, Spirit's CEO gives a shout out to the workers.
We're also incredibly thankful to the employees of Spirit who made this happen.
This comes just one day after 360 workers at Spirit got layoff notices, but Spirit's keeping the attention on this rollout, all about milestones. This cabin, part of the new tanker for the Air Force that will be flying out of McConnell Air Force Base. It replaces the aging KC-135 tankers the Air Force has been relying on for years to fuel planes in the air all over the globe. Of course, this is just the forward fuselage section, or the cabin part of this aircraft. It's going to Everett, Washington for final assembly. Rollout of this, they expect first flight January of 2015.
So I'm super excited that we've actually entered manufacturing in the factory at Everett.
They expect the first plane to go through first flight testing out of Everett, Washington in January of 15. With orders for 179 of these fuselages, politicians on hand are excited about the prospect of job security for workers.
It means hundreds of jobs here in Kansas for a long time. This is a project that's going to go on for years and years.
Spirit brass say they hope the Air Force orders more. In South Wichita, Craig Andrus, KSN News.
The Air Force says on-time delivery of the Spirit product is, of course, good news, saying the rest of the plane will also likely be on time.
There's a special garage sale going on this weekend to raise money to honor Kansans who've made the ultimate sacrifice. It started today. It runs through noon tomorrow. The VFW at Murdoch and Water, right around the corner from us. The proceeds will go to build the Freedom Memorial. Construction at Wichita's Veterans Park, scheduled for this September, could be done by the end of the year.
A case of animal cruelty and abandonment will hopefully have a happy ending. 11 dogs, 7 of which are puppies, were left to fend for themselves when their owner in Salina simply moved away. Those dogs have now been rescued by the animal shelter there. KSN Salina Bureau Chief Chris Arnold has more.
Monique Hawley is an animal control officer with the Salina Animal Shelter. She responds to several calls a day dealing with dogs. But one Monday morning was different.
There was one outside in an enclosure in a pen. There was one inside of a garage. There was one running free.
As well as 4 adult dogs and 4 puppies inside the home, totaling 11 in all. Their living conditions were terrible.
They were absolutely covered in fleas from head to toe. Some of them have some skin issues from the fleas.
The call came from a landlord saying that the tenant had moved out and left all their dogs. Brad Welchel assisted Holly on the call and says the dogs were suffering.
They had water, but it was pretty green. It had some mosquito larvae in it. They hadn't been taken care of in a while.
The animal shelter's been caring for the puppies and dogs all week. The staff is hoping that they'll be welcome additions to families in the area.
I think it's going to take a little bit of work, but I think they'd make wonderful pets.
Now, while the adult dogs go for adoption today, the animal shelter is urging the community to come out and give these little guys a new home of their very own. Reporting in Salina, Chris Arnold, KSN News.
So cute. Those puppies will go up for adoption on Tuesday, August 6th. If you'd like to adopt any of them, you can call the Salina Animal Shelter, 785-826-6535.
Still to come here at 6 o'clock, a former school building in Wichita will probably be full of children again. We'll tell you about the plans a church has for its future.
And we'll take you to Lawrence Dumont Stadium as a new and improved baseball tradition starts today.
You're watching KSN News at 6. News and weather when you want